You know what doesn't pair well with being half naked with your feet in stirrups and about to get a pap smear? Slut-shaming. Or really anything. Even just personal questions can be awkward. When I asked Stuff Mom Never Told You fans on social media whether they'd ever experienced slut-shaming at the gyno, I got back more stories than free birth control samples at a Planned Parenthood. Meaning I got a lot. Cristen, with a K, wrote, "I was slut-shamed by my first gyno, a man who had posters of young hunks on the ceiling to help, quote, lube up, and a female nurse in college who picked my brain for 45 minutes because she didn't understand how lesbian sex worked without using props." Amy said, "After a decade of no boyfriends, I asked mine for birth control. My gyno was shocked and asked if I was sure I needed it." Diana said, "When I was 18, I saw a pediatrician for the last time. I brought up birth control because I had terrible acne and she said, 'Your skin looks fine to me, and you shouldn't be having sex.'" Alyssa wrote, "I always used to feel compelled to lie to one of the doctors at the clinic at my university. He would praise women so excessively for not being promiscuous. I was too afraid to be honest about my sexual activity and faced the potential backlash from him." Pearl wrote, "Yes, I've been slut-shamed, and it was my first visit to a gynecologist ever. When she asked me if I'd even had sex and I said yes, she looked back down at her notes and said, 'And you're not married?' and proceeded to give me the most painful pelvic exam I have ever had." Stephanie wrote, "A gyno refused to insert an IUD because I was no longer married. He assumed not being married meant I would be having unprotected sex and contract an STD, which carries higher risks for pelvic inflammatory disease when you have an IUD. Newsflash! Married people tend to have more unprotected sex than single people, and when a partner cheats, can get STDs." Allie wrote, "I went for my first appointment at my new gynecologist's office and she said she was a little concerned about some cervical swelling. She then said, 'It's probably HPV, so either you or your husband is sleeping around.'" Kylie wrote, "Yes, when I was 13, my doctor assumed I was pregnant and that was why I wasn't having a period and didn't believe that I wasn't sexually active. Turns out I have polycystic ovarian syndrome. Thanks, doctor." Sierra said, "I wanted to go on the mini pill and my then general practitioner told me that I couldn't and that, quote, 'Why do you need to go on it? Guys don't sleep with fat girls.'" Teresa said, "A gyno judged me as irresponsible for using condoms between visits to renew my birth control prescription. She was afraid I was having so much sex essentially without her permission." Kara wrote, "I had one who laughed and whispered and cracked jokes with her assistant that she would have to get an extra large speculum." Ellie said, "My current doctor asked what my son thought of my tattoos, piercings, and lifestyle in general. I told him that my son doesn't need all those details since he hasn't been involved with my reproductive system for 15 years. Kaylee said, "I went in for intermittent vulva pain I was experiencing and was basically told I probably had herpes they couldn't detect because sex will always give you herpes. It was a mild bacterial infection and no big deal." Adrian said, "I needed an IUD removed because it was causing problems. When my doctor talked about supplemental birth control, I told her I didn't need it because I wasn't active sexually. Through the paper-thin doors, I heard her mock me to her nurses, asking why I thought I could lie to her and she will find it funny when I come back knocked up. I didn't go back. And no, I didn't end up knocked up." Amy said, "The doctor asked, 'Are you sexually active?' and I responded with a yes. Then she laughed and told me I didn't have to lie." Krista said, "I've been seeing the same general practitioner since I was born, and when she gave me an exam to test for endometriosis, it came up that I was a lesbian and engaged to my girlfriend. She immediately told me health advice for, quote, 'when I get over that phase and start having real sex.'" Jessie wrote, "I just saw my family doctor for bad heartburn only to get a lecture about safe sex and Jesus talk. That was the last time I saw her." Patricia said, "I went to the doctor for an exam after experiencing a trauma. I waited a while to see the doctor but started panicking a week or so later and made an emergency appointment. She made me feel stupid about the whole thing. The first therapist I saw was similar and both made me feel ashamed and like I was in the wrong." Caitlin wrote, "After I found out my boyfriend cheated on me while we were together, I did the responsible thing and went to get checked for STDs. The CNA who walked me to my room was fine until I told him what I was there for, and then I got the old 'save it for someone special' / 'no one will buy the cow if they can get the milk for free' speech." Jessica said, "A male gyno told me that he did not agree with prescribing birth control outside of marriage. Instead, he judgmentally advised abstinence." So to any medical students, OBGYNs, or nurse practitioners watching, I implore you, for the sake of women's health, stop the slut shaming at the gyno. I mean, really, it's the least you can do in exchange for us having to put our feet in stirrups, be vaginally probed, and then have someone smush around our boobs looking for cancer. You know?